This is WCJB TV 20's Morning Edition.
This morning, we're tracking Hurricane Milton. Our TV 20 meteorologists have declared today a first alert weather day. Mike, what can we expect leading up to Milton's landfall?
Well, we're going to definitely progress things as we go through this morning into the afternoon as far as conditions across our area. There you can see the satellite picture of Milton. Still a very impressive looking storm out there in the Gulf of Mexico as it trudges on off to the east-northeast to northeast. So what we'll basically see is an increase in the clouds. Obviously, it'll be a cloudy, breezy morning, and then the winds and rain begin to increase later this afternoon. It's particularly later on this evening and overnight into the early part of the day tomorrow when we'll see the strongest winds and heavier rain, but the system still expected to make its way onshore the west central coast of Florida late tonight. All right, it's giving you the latest information right now. Max winds estimated about 160 near the center, very close in the eye wall there, and the motion now is northeast at 14, so moving at a slightly faster forward pace. Central pressure is still very low at 907 millibars. It looks like still conditions will become a little bit less favorable for this system as it gets closer to the coastline. So more than likely making landfall as a strong Category 3 or maybe Category 4 by late tonight or the wee hours of tomorrow morning along the west central coast of Florida around the Tampa Bay area. And then eventually this system is expected to track across the state through central Florida and eventually off the east coast near or south of Cape Canaveral, and that would be early tomorrow afternoon. And then after that, conditions will definitely begin to improve across all of our viewing area. More info on that coming up in just a second. So far here locally, it's been a little bit of off and on rain throughout the night. It is overcast out there right now. We check out the radar and satellite picture. We're seeing showers coming in out of the east and northeast, spreading across the interior with a steadier rain and more continuous rain extending farther to our south. And that's what's going to be spreading across the area as we go through our day today. Coming up in a few, we'll have obviously a lot more info on Milton and what we expect coming up in just a bit.
Mike, thank you. Well, as Hurricane Milton moves towards the Florida coast, Columbia County leaders say storm debris cleanup from Hurricane Helene will still take several months. The county posted this reminder on its Facebook page, telling people to put debris on right-of-ways and work crews will remove it as soon as possible. The county says roads still need to be repaired and the joint cleanup effort between the county and city agencies take time.
There's so much of it that's out there. It's not something that can be wrapped up here in just a few days. You know, it's something that's going to be, we're looking at months of debris pickup as it is with the amounts that were knocked down and destroyed during Hurricane Helene.
The county has a Citizen Information Center hotline for non-emergency related hurricane questions. That number is 386-719-7530. Leaders of Columbia County will meet today at 9 a.m. to discuss updates for their plan for Hurricane Milton. Well, FEMA officials are expanding storm damage coverage to more north central Florida counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. Homeowners and renters in Alachua, Bradford, Putnam, and Union counties who sustained damage from Helene are now eligible for FEMA disaster assistance. For details on how to apply, you can visit our website, WCJB.com. Well, Hurricane Milton is forcing organizers of a popular event in Marion County to cancel their plans. The McIntosh 1890s Festival, which was scheduled for this Saturday, is no longer happening. Officials say they're unable to reschedule the event. Well, time is running out to gather supplies before Hurricane Milton arrives. We'll tell you what you should have in your hurricane supply kits. That's when TV 20's Morning Edition returns.
No. Oh, hey. With Zeem, you can stream free local TV from all over the country. Zeem speaks for itself. It really doesn't need a celebrity spokesperson, but they promised me I could do this. Zeem. Always local, always free.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
For those who stay informed, Finding the best healthcare plan is not just a priority, it's a responsibility, because choosing the wrong plan can leave you feeling overwhelmed and unprotected. At healthcareplans.com, explore detailed comparisons, stay updated on policies, and make the best choices for your future. Enrollment opens October 15th. Start educating yourself early. Visit healthcareplans.com today. Healthcareplans.com. Your health, your choices, your life.
Oh, hey, with Zeem, you can stream free local TV from all over the country. Zeem speaks for itself. It really doesn't need a celebrity spokesperson, but they promised me I could do this. Zeem, always local, always free.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
Welcome back. The time is 5:07. Well, with Hurricane Milton expected to make landfall early Thursday morning, officials are urging residents to prepare. Meteorologist John Scalzi tells us what essentials are important for your hurricane supply kit.
Your hurricane preparedness plan has many critical components, but one of the most important is the contents of your supply kit. Now, that will vary from family to family, depending on need. They can range all the way from the simple, like water and a way to cook your dinner, all the way up to the very complex, like meals ready to eat and specialized water filters. Well, some families may require diapers. Other families will not. Some things will be universal, like a water supply. But one thing is common to everyone's plan, and that is the concept of a hurricane supply kit. That is, you're going to be pretending you're going on a camping trip, away from running water, away from electricity, away from trips to your local store. And you'll have to fend for yourself for a period of about 5 days.
Your hurricane kit should include a collapsible or rigid water container to store water. Or you can fill the bathtub if you have liners and can protect the water from dust and debris. Of course, bottled water works. Store at least 7 gallons per person for drinking and another 7 per person for cooking and cleaning. For 2 people, that's a store of 28 gallons. Emergency water filters are good, but they can be expensive. And remember, most filters will not make salt water drinkable. Your hurricane kit needs supplies for power outages as well, a way to heat a meal, a source of light, and power for your cell phone. Your phone may be your only source of information after the storm, and a backup battery and a car charger are both very good investments. Also have an AM/FM crank or battery-operated weather radio.
For the following marine location, coastal waters from Englewood to Tarpon Springs out 20 nautical miles.
And of course you'll need extra batteries and a flashlight. Stay away from candles or lanterns or other open flames. Stop in at your grocery store and pick up canned meals and snacks to put on your shelf. Use and replace them during the hurricane season. This will keep them fresh. Oh, and don't forget a manual can opener. Or you can get freeze-dried meals. They sell them online or in camping stores, and they'll last for a long, long time. Years, in fact. Don't forget a camp stove and some fuel to heat up the meals. Plus, you'll need a first aid kit as well as some fresh medications.
Well, these are all good reminders heading into later today, early morning tomorrow. And, you know, today and tomorrow, as our meteorologists have declared, their first alert weather days. So all week we've kind of had our eyes on these ones.
Obviously, this is going to be a pretty huge story as we go through the day and on into part of tomorrow, actually.
Yeah.
This storm is probably going to take a little longer to get through because if you recall from Helene, it moved on shore around 11:20, 11:30 that night.
Yeah.
Moving very quickly at 24 miles an hour, then, you know, shortly thereafter, it was in southern Georgia around 1 o'clock in the morning, so it didn't take long. But this is going to be approaching from a little different angle, obviously moving in farther south than what Helene did, but moving into the west central coast of Florida and then crossing the state. So we're not talking about something.
So what is the timeline? Like, what is the length of this one?
Well,
hours.
Basically, it's going to take, you know, if it moves on shore somewhere around midnight or a little bit after that tonight, it's going to take the bulk of 12 hours probably to get it to the East Coast. Maybe not quite that long.
Yeah,
but it's going to
definitely
take
longer than Helene.
yeah. Helene, you know, it was out of here relatively quickly. But we'll talk more about that coming up in a second. Let's check out what's going on in our first alert tropical update. You'll see the familiar red color in these first alert days on our banners and what have you, just to depict definitely a significant change in our weather that's coming as we look at the wider view of the tropics. And then there's a closer view of Helene, which has a well-defined eye. No question about that. There you can see the center there. It really began to wrap up. Yesterday it had meandered a bit to the east-southeast, then turned to the east, and eventually turning more to the northeast right now. And as it was doing that, it was certainly still at that point in a very favorable environment for development and organization. So it definitely did that. It definitely picked up a little bit of steam, and now is a major storm out there making its way. Very clearly defined eye there. And the aircraft that continue to fly in here find a very small eye, but very intense winds in that core right around the center there. Here's the latest stats we have right now. Max winds at 160 miles an hour, so that makes it a Cat 5. Motion northeast at 14, so it's turned to a more northeasterly course at a slightly faster forward speed. The central pressure very low, got down to as low as 902 millibars yesterday, come up slightly since then, but that's still indicative of a very intense storm making its way on off to the northeast. 24.5 degrees north and 85.4 west is the position of the center. So here's the forecast track approaching the west central coast of Florida as we go later on into the day today. It looks like a landfall would be more likely just after midnight tonight along the coastline in or near the Tampa Bay area, perhaps a little bit farther south, and then eventually it's going to be crossing. So by 2 a.m. in the morning in this particular projection, it has it right on the coastline of Manatee County. If you were to go according to the center position, keep in mind, even with the system 12 hours or 24 hours out or a little bit less, there can still be some variation as to where the eye is going to move on shore, but crossing the central part of the state, and by then about 12 hours later roughly, it's exiting to the south or pretty close to the Cape on the east coast of Florida and eventually accelerating out to the east-northeast. So this is the critical time here as we go later this evening and overnight tonight. That's when the strongest winds and rain will occur across the peninsula, and that extends up in the northern part of Florida. Keep in mind that yesterday, for the bulk of the life of this storm, the winds, basically the wind field of this was relatively compact, so it was a relatively small storm. Well, we expect as it gets a little farther north and a little bit closer to us that wind field will expand somewhat and it'll start to encounter a less than favorable environment. So we're talking about by the time it gets to the coastline, the tropical storm force winds could extend outward 150, perhaps as much as 200 miles. And that's why even as far north as we are of the Tampa Bay area and Sarasota and Bradenton, we are certainly going to be looking at tropical storm force wind gusts out of this. The farther south you are, then you'd be a bit more likely to see a hurricane force gust. So basically the warnings, though, have not changed a whole lot. Hurricane warnings extending from St. Augustine to Palatka, Marion, Levy counties southward, farther north where you're more likely to see the tropical storm force winds, tropical storm warnings in effect. Storm surge estimates are going to be on the order of 10 to 15 feet around the Tampa Bay area, with lower numbers as you go farther on up to the north. Potential for heavy rain. We'll talk about that in just a second. The flood watch is still in effect, and that goes through Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening. This is an updated WPC 3-day rainfall outlook, and basically the farther north you are, you're in better shape. Predictions in the area sections of Alachua County could be an inch and a half or less, but the farther south you go in the county, and particularly into Marion, Levy, Citrus counties, that's where we're talking about rainfall totals possible of 5 inches, and then higher amounts farther on down to the south. So that's going to produce a possibility of flooding, obviously, as the system crosses the state. There's your severe weather outlook in terms of tornado risk. We see this, frequently with tropical cyclones as they make their way onshore. The highest risk is forward and to the right of the storm's motion. So we're talking about the highest risk, an enhanced risk, actually, the Storm Prediction Center saying, for the area from Orlando to roughly south of Tampa, covering much of the south central part of the state. As you get farther north, then the risk of tornadoes is a little bit less, and nothing more than an isolated chance of that across our particular viewing area. So the time frame hasn't changed a whole lot, maybe backed up a few hours. So for us, I think, we see obviously cloudy conditions, breezy this morning. There have been some passing showers out there. We'll see more of that. Winds, rain increasing as we head later into the afternoon. I think the peak time for the strongest winds, heavier rain will be later on tonight into the early morning hours of tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon, conditions do get better. There is going to be some storm surge flooding, but not like what they're going to see Tampa Bay area southward. Wind and rain, obviously. Tropical storm force wind gusts for much of our viewing area, and heavy rain across the interior as well. There's a current view of the radar and satellite, and we're definitely seeing some showers moving onshore. And we've seen an increase in the high clouds during the day yesterday, but the main area rain connected with the system is creeping northward across central Florida, and that's what we'll see more of as we go later into our day. Temperatures quite balmy, no 60s this morning because the dry air is gone, so it's all 70s out there. Futurecast, the model shows that their prediction here is the system approaching the coastline, then eventually moving onshore, then eventually heading on out to sea. For us today, though, cloudy and breezy, some showers, then that becomes a bit more continuous with showers, perhaps an isolated storm this afternoon. And then wind and rain will be highest as we get late this evening and overnight tonight. High temperatures holding in the 70s today in the extended forecast. First alert weather days the next couple of days, because on Thursday, we're still going to have to deal with rain and wind in the morning. In the afternoon, we begin to see that subside, but a whole lot better as drier air arrives for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday of next week.
All right. Thank you, Mike. A lot more Milton coverage after the break. Stay with us.
Expect more from multivitamins powered by nature with 20+ nutrients that work in harmony with your body for immune, heart, stress, and beauty support. Be your own force of nature.
Generic life have you feeling a little gray? That's crazy. Bargain Hut has the amazing brands that you cannot live without. Save up to 70% or more on brand name food, apparel, home, and pet accessories. You can't live without these tips.
Beechers. They call it the world's best. I believe it.
Discover the world's best restaurant quality food in your grocer's freezer. Beechers. Raise your expectations.
I'm TV's John Stamos. I've been hired to play the great Jack Perry, the creator of Zeem. This one's a challenge.
The tagline is simple, and if John can remember that, he's got a shot. Always local, always free.
What's first?
Always local.
Always where?
Local.
Always what?
Free.
Zeem is America. There, I said it.
Zeem. Always local, always free.
When I take a roll on, I take it head on.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
You deserve a healthcare plan that understands your needs, affordable, accessible, and built for you. Because choosing the wrong plan can leave you feeling overwhelmed and unprotected. Healthcareplans.com is here to guide you through the options that offer more reliable care for years to come. Enrollment opens October 15th. Stay in control of your health by visiting healthcareplans.com today. Healthcareplans.com. Your health, your choices, your life.
Our commitment to excellent customer service runs deep because we handle callers from both Medicare and Marketplace, touching millions of lives nationwide.
The heart of our mission is a team of over 10,000 customer service representatives located in contact centers across the country. Together, we create a diverse and impactful network. So moving people forward may be what Maximus employees do, but it's also what Maximus does for its employees.
Experts say the most crucial time for homeowners to review their coverage is before a disaster strikes. Reporter Karen Akefa tells us what decisions people need to make now ahead of Hurricane Milton.
Parts of the southeastern United States haven't recovered from Hurricane Helene, and now here comes Milton.
This could be the worst storm hit Florida in over a century.
It's a reminder to regularly review home, renters, and auto insurance policies and note what may have changed.
Not just mold, not just water, but deductibles. There's even hail limits. So at least give yourself a fighting chance by knowing where those gaps are.
The insurance industry has been hit in recent years by more frequent disasters and inflation. That's led to a jump in homeowners insurance rates, 11.3% last year, according to S&P Global. And Amy Bach, executive director of United Policyholders, says insurance companies are using more defined technology to assess risk.
Aerial images, data mining, predictive models. And all that technology means that they have been fine-tuning the wording in their policies.
Bach says when disaster does strike, document as much damage as is safe to do so and keep a daily journal of recovery steps.
Who you talk to, what their phone number is, what their email is, what, just notes to kind of keep yourself on track.
Home buyers can also keep natural disasters in mind before signing the dotted line. A new tool from the home shopping website Zillow shows how vulnerable properties for sale might be to extreme climate events with data on flooding, wildfires, wind, heat, and air quality. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Well, Mike, as far as damage to homes in north central Florida, what would be the main cause of that for Milton?
For Milton, probably, I would say trees coming down and perhaps hitting a home.
Okay, because of those wind chances and, rather than storm surge.
Yeah, based on the current projection, if it makes its way, say, inland around or maybe slightly south of Tampa Bay, and that's going to be critical too, and crosses the state in central Florida, then for most locations, we're talking tropical storm force winds. That's 39 to 73 miles an hour. There is a chance in our far southern counties you could see gusts to hurricane force, which would be 74. So, structure, mobile homes, a little different story, not quite as sturdy perhaps as a brick building or a stick-built house, but, with winds, increasing, I would say probably we're talking about trees coming down on power lines and houses and that thing, and just a time to use extreme caution. All right, well, there is our satellite picture and just a very impressive looking hurricane there. Milton making its way now northeastward, and a very well-defined eye, and a core of very strong winds right around the center. And there you see in the top right of the screen is the southwest coast of Florida. Boy, it's not going to take long for this to approach the coastline and really deteriorate conditions rapidly later today. Right now, max winds at 160, moving northeast at 14. The track brings it closer to the coastline, eventually making landfall probably just after midnight tonight. And, with this particular scenario, if there's any minor change to its course, then that could really worsen conditions significantly. We saw with Charlie, it was expected to head closer to Tampa Bay and then ended up cutting in near Charlotte Harbor, just north of Fort Myers.
And those changes can happen right before it hits?
Right before landfall. That's why it's probably best to just, pay not attention to the direct center of the cone, but, in that area.
For sure. Well, thank you, Mike. A lot of good stuff there. Well, taking a break from a storm coverage, here's today's Tech Bites.
In today's Tech Bites, X returns to one of its biggest markets. Brazil's Supreme Court lifted a ban on the social media site after the platform paid a $5 million fine. The country banned X last month after it refused to remove several accounts deemed to be spreading misinformation, according to Brazil's government. Next, Samsung is ending updates for its older Galaxy Fold 2 phone. The model is no longer eligible for security or software updates, marking the end of its support cycle. The phone came out in 2020, costing nearly $2,000. Samsung's tablet, the Tab A7, will also no longer get updates. And finally, Fitbit is launching a new AI-powered tool. The feature uses Google's Gemini models to offer personalized health answers like how your activity affects your sleep. The opt-in program is now available to select premium users. You know what? It's almost Halloween, so what do you call a vampire who wears a Fitbit? Counts steps. Those are your Tech Bites.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first.
Okay, let's get going. Can everybody see that?
Like, to check your desktop first before sharing your screen.
Oh, that is not the, oh, no. I don't know how that got in there. No, that,
Yeah, checking first is smart.
Okay, everybody get out.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Still congested?
Nope.
Uh-oh. New Mucinex 2-in-1 Saline Nasal Spray.
Spray goodbye.
With an innovative power jet to break through your toughest congestion.
Come on, man.
Congestion?
No, I'm good.
Spray goodbye to tough congestion. You're very talented. New Mucinex 2-in-1 Saline Nasal Spray has arrived. With a gentle mist and innovative power jet, spray goodbye to congestion. It's comeback time. I know.
I'm TV's John Stamos. I've been hired to play the great Jack Perry, the creator of Zeem. This one's a challenge.
The tagline is simple, and if John can remember that, he's got a shot. Always local, always free.
What's first?
Always local.
Always where?
Local.
Always what?
Free.
Zeem is America. There, I said it.
Zeem. Always local, always free.
When I take a roll on, I take it head on. Boom.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
For the health-conscious and budget-savvy, cost and value drive your healthcare decisions. Healthcareplans.com provides detailed insights and plan comparisons, helping you choose the right plan at a cost you can afford. Enrollment opens October 15th. Educate yourself today. Visit healthcareplans.com to compare costs and uncover the true value of your healthcare options. Healthcareplans.com. Your health, your choices, your life.
Nature knows best. That's why New Chapter Vitamins follows her example with key vitamins, minerals, herbs, and whole food ingredients. Crafted to work with your body, bringing the power of nature into your new chapter.
Our commitment to excellent customer service runs deep because we handle callers from both Medicare and Marketplace, touching millions of lives nationwide.
The heart of our mission is a team of over 10,000 customer service representatives located in contact centers across the country. Together, we create a diverse and impactful network. So moving people forward may be what Maximus employees do, but it's also what Maximus does for its employees.
Eckrich, no time to cook tailgate.
You left late, parked in Auxiliary Lot Z, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
That's a mean sausage. Yes. Now go long.
Yes, Chef. For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
This is WCJB TV 20's Morning Edition.
Well, All morning, we will be tracking Hurricane Milton. Our TV20 meteorologists have declared today a first alert weather day. So, Mike, what can we expect leading up to Milton's landfall?
Well, for us, it's basically conditions deteriorating here, even though we are going to be north of where the center is expected to make landfall late tonight or the wee hours of tomorrow morning. We're definitely seeing some influence already. We saw high clouds increasing yesterday evening, a few spotty showers. We're seeing some showers coming in from the east this morning. And then as we go through our day today, rains become more constant. Rain opportunities and rain intensity increases, particularly as we head later towards afternoon into this evening and overnight. Winds will steadily increase, a breezy morning, and then gets windy late afternoon, evening, and overnight tonight. And it looks like that'll be slow to decrease during the day tomorrow. So there's where Milton is right now as of last check. The advisory at 5 a.m. coming out. Max sustained winds in a small area right near the center of 160 miles per hour. And that's still an incredible storm to look at on satellite picture. It's just developed quite a bit again yesterday. The motion northeast at 14, so the track is essentially unchanged, bringing the system onshore right around or slightly after midnight tonight as a borderline Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricane, and then weakening to a Cat 1 as it crosses over land over central Florida. It's probably going to take on the order of about 11, 12 hours for it to cross the state. Farther north, where we are, obviously, we're just going to be close enough to get the tropical storm force wind gusts. Possible that some portions of our southern viewing area could see gusts of 74 or above. That would be hurricane force. And then eventually, as this moves out away from Cape Canaveral, then conditions improve significantly later in the day tomorrow. But tomorrow morning, we're still going to be dealing with a fair amount of wind and rain. There's your picture right now from the radar and satellite, and noticing showers have been spreading in from the east, pushing eastward there, and westward, I should say, and then a larger, more continuous band of rain starting to spread up from central Florida, and that's what we'll see a little bit later on. Temperatures this morning are balmy. No 60s because there's no dry air present. That was the case yesterday. 72 at Lake City, with readings pretty much low to mid-70s southward to Lake Butler and Stark and Gainesville and Alachua and Archer and Micanopy, and that goes into Marion County near Ocala. Coming up in just a bit, we'll talk more specifically about the storm and what we have beyond that coming up in a few.
This traffic update is sponsored by Bathfitter, a better way.
Let's get a live check of traffic. This is I-75 at Williston. Compared to the past couple mornings, past couple afternoons, really all of those people that have been evacuating, hopefully they are safe and sound where they need to be. But as far as this morning, it does not look like too much going on out there on the roadways. The roadways do look a little bit slick from what we see on this view. So if you're driving anywhere this morning, just continue to be patient and try to stay off those roadways. You know, as we enter the day, those winds and some of that rain will start to increase. So just be aware of that this morning, wherever you're at on the roadways. Moving over to our traffic maps, at least as far as an incident, this is the only thing going on actively in Steinhatchee. Good morning. A vehicle crashed with injuries and roadblocks on US 19 and Northeast Highway 51 at that intersection. It does not look like from the maps here it's showing much congestion, so just be aware of that. But again, as we enter into Milton's landfall later or overnight, just make sure you be safe out there when you're driving. Well, we'll get back to Milton coverage in just a moment, but as for some news, we have an update on the shooting in Ocala over the weekend. Officers arrested 2 people in connection to the shooting during a youth football game. Officers arrested 18-year-old Awani Pinkney and 19-year-old Kayla Gerald. They say Gerald was driving a vehicle when Pinkney started to shoot towards another person. Instead, they hit an innocent bystander who was in the parking lot at Jervey Gant Park. The 44-year-old man that was shot was taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. In Levy County, court officials are meeting for a case management hearing for Frederick Campbell. That's the man accused of crashing his truck into a school bus in 2022. Campbell was driving a semi-truck in Levy County when he ran into a stopped school bus on Highway 19. 7 children were seriously injured from the crash. Campbell was charged with 6 different counts of traffic violations, including reckless and careless driving. The case hearing will happen today at 9 a.m. and this is still on the docket for today, but we'll keep you updated if anything changes due to the storm. Well, supporters of the ballot proposal to change Alachua County Commission seats from single districts to at-large seats will appeal a judge's ruling claiming the ballot language is unlawful. The judge ruled the same wording should have been used in the new proposal that was used in the 2022 referendum when voters approved single-member districts. The ballot is already printed, but if it passes, would be subject to legal challenges. County officials insist voters will decide the issue. In anticipation of intense weather conditions, Gainesville city leaders are contemplating a curfew for the hours of the heaviest impact during Hurricane Milton. City officials will hold a news conference at 11 a.m. today to discuss that decision. Well, in Marion County, a mandatory evacuation order was issued for those living in RVs, mobile homes, and manufactured homes. Yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis held a press conference at the Florida Horse Park in Ocala, which will be one of the state's major staging areas for response to Hurricane Milton. Hundreds of workers, trucks, generators, and other necessities have been set up and are ready to be deployed after Milton makes landfall. The staging area already has bucket trucks, generators, forklifts, AC units, water hoses, hundreds of personnel, and fuel trucks, and that's ahead of Milton's descent.
We have staging areas around different parts of the state, and there are different sites that are doing different things. I mean, for example, you go to like Lake City, you got a lot of the utility linemen there that are staged. We've had a lot of people staged in the Tampa Bay area for utility and other things, but this one right here is really good. I'm not saying Ocala is not going to have any impacts from the storm, but we fully anticipate be able to move people where they need to go very quickly once the storm passes.
Governor DeSantis says 5,000 National Guardsmen are on duty, and that number will soon expand to 8,000. Well, turning to some live coverage this morning, all of our North Central Florida counties are under a state of emergency as Milton nears, and every county is preparing. TV 20's Hawa Ezel joins us live from Marion County's Emergency Operations Center. Hawa, what's going on out there this morning?
So this morning, right now, everyone's just preparing best they can, and honestly, that's if they haven't skipped town already. Like you just mentioned, there are mandatory evacuation orders in place for more than 15 counties. That includes Marion, especially those in those mobile manufactured homes. Marion County officials have also announced school closures for the rest of the week, leaving students and parents free to prepare. FHP is reporting much clearer traffic. There's some silver lining there. It was highly congested yesterday as people were frantically evacuating, trying to get inland. I don't blame them. The shoulder of the roads are open as a fourth lane on I-75, I-4, and Alligator Alley. The best thing we can do right now is just make sure we're stocked up on those essentials and get away from those coastal areas. Stay safe, North Central Florida. Reporting live in Marion County, I'm Hawa Ezel. Back to you, Kristen.
That is right, Hawa, and stay safe out there yourself. We appreciate your coverage this morning. Well, Uber is offering free rides to shelters for people evacuating because of the storm. The instructions to access them are on your screen. Just download the Uber app, tap account on the bottom right, and then tap wallet. Add the promo code Milton Relief, just like you see on your screen. That's a great resource there. Well, we'll take a quick break from Milton coverage and be back with your morning sports report. Stay with us.
Beechers. They call it the world's best. I believe it.
Discover the world's best restaurant quality food in your grocer's freezer. Beechers. Raise your expectations.
Eckridge. No time to cook tailgate.
You left late, parked in Auxiliary Lot Z, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckridge smoked sausage, Chef.
That's a mean sausage. Yes. Now go long.
Yes, Chef.
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckridge.
I didn't join the military to protect career politicians. I serve for citizens like you and me. I'm voting yes on issue 1 to stop politicians from manipulating Ohio's voting maps and restore power to us. Vote yes on 1.
Oh, hey, with Zeem, you can stream free local TV from all over the country. Zeem speaks for itself. It really doesn't need a celebrity spokesperson, but they promised me I could do this. Zeem, always local, always free.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
Eckridge, no time to cook tailgate.
You left late, parked in Auxiliary Lot Z, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckridge smoked sausage, chef.
That's a mean sausage. Yes. Now go long.
Yes, chef.
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckridge.
Had a long run to state. Last year, the Bucs faced two teams, Lafayette and Union County, 6 times. They only lost 1 set. So like this fan, let's hoist the colors and let the flag fly. At Union County at Brantford, round 2. The Bucs faithful on hand for this showdown. And you know what? This kind of felt like a postseason preview. I want you to watch number 11, Addison Folsom. This will set up for Kaylee Johnson. She fires a kill attempt. Folsom and Johnson, they bide their time, leap up for the double block, and chalks up the point. That's some great awareness. Now more from Folsom all over the front court, and she is going to be ready for the return and make it look easy. Brantford Bucs were down 5-4, but the Fighting Tigers have one of the top kill specialists, nearing 200 kills. This is Jalen Simmons. Keeps her feet in bounds and fires a stunning shot across the court. Brantford led 24-18, but Union County rallies to make it 24-22. Brantford just too much to handle again and again. The Bucs win the set, and they won their 19th straight match, 25-22, 25-16, 25-17. Now, away from the swamp, the Gator defense has yet to prove that they can get the job done. Last season, Gators gave up an average of over 200 yards on the ground and 15 touchdowns. Who has the best rushing offense? Tennessee, and this is their biggest test yet. Win or lose, Florida, you got to prove that this defense is better on the road. Against Mississippi State, you still gave up 240 yards, and you got to stop this running game, and you got to win in the trenches. And 2, you got to rattle Nico Iamaleava by collapsing the pocket or making him think twice about running. And the secondary, you got to find something called a turnover. You only have 2 this year, and that's by the linebackers. The strength of this front 7 is with guys like R.J. Milton, who put on weight to transition to outside linebacker.
100%. I think the closest tempo that we've gotten this year was in practice for Mississippi State, because we knew that they were going to have tempo, but the way that they ran the tempo at practice was unbelievable. So I think that's the closest we get. But Tennessee definitely has the fastest tempo. It's us. All we have is us going into a hostile environment. And to be honest, like, the crowd really isn't anything. Like, it's practice just with a lot more people watching. We're not making it bigger than what it may be. It's just it's a game on the schedule, and we're going to go and we're going to compete and hopefully come out with the win.
Let us stay on defense, as the men's basketball team has plenty of time to buck the trend. They were one of the best in rebounds at three-point percentage, but the issue started in the paint. Opponents shot over 45% from the field against the Gators, and why teams like Auburn and Colorado were able to handle the Gators in crunch time. Golden and the staff were busy bringing in more speed, height, and a veteran presence in the paint. Newcomers like Sam Alexis take a page from guys like Samuel and Lockton.
5, the big guys, like I seen what Tyrese Samuel did last year, and I felt like I could do the same thing. Micah did a lot of offensive rebounds. I think he had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. So just try to do what he did.
Playing aggressively is part of my game. It's who I am. It's how I play. But I think there's limit to everything, and there's the line to everything. So there's some lines you don't cross, and I know my boundary, and I just stay within my boundaries, trying not to pass the lines.
And also, please keep in mind that we are going to have the continuous updates here for Hurricane Milton when it comes to the athletic activities. We did get a couple this morning. That was Trinity Catholic. They have decided to end the athletic activities until next Monday. And then also North Marion and Denellen football, they postponed their game to next Monday, October 14th. There's a couple other games that are coming up. But make sure that you stick to our TV20 sports page. We'll have you updated throughout the day here on TV20. I'm Jake Rungelt, TV20 Sports.
Well, Mike, as far as today, you know, the storm really isn't making landfall until around, what, midnight, 2 a.m.?
Maybe, yeah, a little after midnight.
So today, will there be active weather, or will it really just be, you know, drizzly, windy?
Well, it's going to be a progression of things. So, you know, we start overcast this morning.
Yeah.
Some rain showers coming in from the east. A larger area of rain spreading up through the Gulf, now moving into our far southern counties. So what happens is that spreads farther north during the day today. So we stay cloudy throughout.
Yeah.
We start to see a bit more of a continuous, even if it's a light rain, through much of the morning into the afternoon. Gets breezier with some heavier showers in the mix as we go later into the afternoon. And as we head through this evening and overnight into the first part of the day tomorrow, that's when the more direct and the strongest effects would be. So you're talking about strong winds, tropical storm force, 39 plus, gusting upwards of 70 perhaps, and then heavy rain. And then in addition to that, you know, a tornado threat I think would be mainly well to our south. But those are the main effects.
Kind of the timeline there.
Yeah, so pretty much it's going to be the bulk of the heavy stuff will be later tonight into the morning
Probably
hours
when people would already be indoors sleeping.
I hope so, and staying off the road too, as far as that goes. All right, let's check out what. Yes, it is a first alert weather day, and here's your first alert tropical update. Wide view of the tropics, other things out there, but nothing as important as this storm right here. As Milton really began to wrap up yesterday, went through a weakening phase 24 hours or so ago, and then meandered to the east-southeast off the coast of the Yucatan, then turned more to the east and northeast now. A northeasterly course is established, and we expect that to continue as it heads towards the state of Florida. Not too far away now is basically what we're looking at, but the aircraft continue to fly into this. Latest report I saw from the Hurricane Hunters shows an eye which is down to about 8 miles wide. And when you see these very intense storms where the central pressure is very low, which is the case with this one, then you talk a lot of times you see these eyes contract, and then eventually as they go through what they refer to as an eye wall replacement cycle, which we saw roughly 24 hours ago. Then you'll see the center expand somewhat, and you'll see the winds come down a little bit, but we're not seeing any signs of that just yet. Hopefully, we would get into one of those cycles where it's peaked now and then loses steam as it heads towards the coastline. That would be ideal timing, but this is quite impressive, no doubt about it, on the satellite picture, and we're starting to see it on radar. We'll check that in just a second. One thing we can tell you is this area moving forward is not going to be limited in terms of warmth, in terms of depth of water or the warmth of the water. We're talking mid to upper 80s, heading through the eastern Gulf of Mexico. If there's a limiting factor to this particular storm, it's going to be the farther north it goes in latitude, it gets into a more harsher, less favorable environment. So it's not the water that's the issue or land interaction. It's going to be the environment aloft that's going to help to degrade the storm a little bit. But we're running out of time for this to lose a lot of punch, but that is the current forecast. And here it is, max winds at 160, motion northeast at 14. So on that course, obviously heading close to the state of Florida, not that far away, and the track takes it into the area. Landfall midnight, a little bit after midnight perhaps, wee hours the morning of Thursday, if you want to call it that, in or around the Tampa Bay area. Too early to focus in on one particular community, but that's the general idea we're talking about right now. Storm surge will be highest near and just south of where the center crosses the coastline. So if we're to pass south of Tampa Bay, that would be somewhat better news for the folks farther to the north, but this is the current projection. And then eventually, this is the early morning hours of Thursday, and then 12 hours later, roughly, crossing the peninsula and exiting offshore near or maybe just south of Cape Canaveral, and then pulling off farther out to the east. So going from a borderline Category 3 Category 4 when it makes landfall later tonight, and then weakening to a Cat 1 as it exits the state of Florida. So you can see from this particular projection here, if there's going to be hurricane force winds, if they're going to happen in our viewing area, it's more than likely going to be in our southern counties, south of Gainesville, specifically Marion, Levy, farther north. Then even though the wind field is going to expand with this system, I think most of our viewing area would be in the area where you could expect at least tropical storm force winds as we go late tonight into the first part of the day tomorrow. That's why you see the tropical storm warning, Jacksonville, extending westward through Alachua and over towards Dixie counties. Farther south is where the hurricane warning remains in effect. Storm surge possibilities are without question going to be different from the last storm, 10 to 15 feet around the Tampa Bay area and the southwest coast, Manatee and Sarasota counties, with lower values up to the north, so better conditions in our neck of the woods. Flood watch is indicated for our area that goes through the day on Thursday. With the farther north you are, better shape you're going to be in terms of getting rainfall out of this. You'll see less of it and better conditions overall. But as you get into Gainesville and point south, then you see the areas of yellow and red and orange. That indicates more rainfall, perhaps 5 to 6, 7 inches of rain. And then you get farther to the south, and it's even more across central Florida. Isolated tornadoes, not much of a tornado risk here, but mainly I'd say in the area from Tampa to Orlando and point south in the favorable right front quadrant of the storm. And that's something we'll monitor as we go through our day today. Here's the current Doppler radar, and you can see the main area rain spreading northward. Heavier showers have been coming in from the east, making their way westward. Much of what you're seeing here down towards the bottom of the screen is relatively light and just steady in nature, but we'll see more of that as we go later on into our day. Here's the radar now of southwest Florida. Key West picking up the radar, the eye, and there it is right there in the eye wall, that area of yellow and orange. That's where the peak winds are happening right now, and you can see well in advance of that this rain spreading across the eastern Gulf, and that is affecting the west coast of Florida right now. There's our close-up view of the radar again with the clouds added. You can see the showers coming in. So figure on an overcast day today, no sunshine expected, and that stays the way until maybe late in the day tomorrow. 70s all over the place. The 60s we had yesterday morning. Wasn't that nice? We had the sunshine, drier air in the morning. Dry air is gone, so we're going to be looking at humid conditions today. The Futurecast shows with this particular model, which is the graph, bringing the center closer to the coastline of upper west central Florida as we go later on into tonight. So as we look at our forecast today, cloudy and breezy this morning, occasional showers, then a steadier rain, showers, maybe an isolated storm in the picture, getting definitely a little bit breezier as we head later in the afternoon, then windy and rainy as we go later this evening and overnight tonight. Temperatures probably holding in the 70s today, and their extended forecast shows first alert weather days for today and for tomorrow. And then once the system exits into the Atlantic tomorrow afternoon, looking at drier air eventually filtering in tomorrow night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday.
Wow.
Looking good.
There we go.
Upper 50s there.
Yeah, so that's, a silver lining. The next 24 hours or so over that is going to be pretty intense.
If we get through this, we'll be better, yes.
Yes, thank you,
No
Mike.
question.
Well, here's your GMA First Look.
In this morning's GMA First Look, for 9 seasons, actress Jenna Fisher charmed fans of The Office.
Dunder Mifflin, this is Pam.
And now, for the first time, she's opening up about her breast cancer journey, posting on Instagram Tuesday, "Last December, I was diagnosed with stage 1 triple-positive breast cancer. After completing surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, I'm now cancer-free. Thankful for her caregivers, family, and friends, including Office and now podcast co-star Angela Kinsey."
Angela, you seem so happy. I bet you wish you were like this all the time.
Fisher says, "For a long time, she was the only person in my workspace who knew. When I lost my hair, she wore hats to our work meetings, so I wouldn't be the only one." And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll have more of Jenna Fisher's story. With your GMA First Look, I'm Janae Norman, ABC News, New York.
Generic life have you feeling a little gray? That's crazy. Bargain Hunt has crazy savings of up to 70% or more on everything from brand name grocery must-haves and apparel to personal care and cleaning products. The things you need at prices you'll love.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes!
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Nature knows best. That's why New Chapter Vitamins follows her example with key vitamins, minerals, herbs, and whole food ingredients. Crafted to work with your body, bringing the power of nature into your new chapter.
You deserve a healthcare plan that understands your needs, affordable, accessible, and built for you. Because choosing the wrong plan can leave you feeling overwhelmed and unprotected. Healthcareplans.com is here to guide you through the options that offer more reliable care for years to come. Enrollment opens October 15th. Stay in control of your health by visiting healthcareplans.com today. Healthcareplans.com. Your health, your choices, your life.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
This TV 20 traffic update sponsored by Allen Law.
This is a live look of I-75 in Alachua. This right here, compared to the past couple days as people have been leaving and evacuating other areas, is looking pretty calm. Just be aware whenever you're driving on the roadway today of those weather conditions. Moving over to our traffic maps, the only active thing is in Melrose. A vehicle crash on County Road 219 and Hall Road. No roadblocks to look out for. But Mike, what should we look out for as far as weather?
Well, obviously things changing dramatically as we go through our day today. Fortunately, we're far enough north that we're not going to have the direct effects that the folks in Central and West Central Florida will have. All right, quickly, the forecast fact question. We use this every day, but the last time Tampa took a direct hit from a hurricane was in the year 1921, which was in the month of October.
Wow.
There is the storm right now. You see the center of Milton. Forecast track brings it on shore, the west central coast of Florida late tonight. More coming up in the next hour.
For sure. Thank you, Mike. Like Mike said, we will have more Milton coverage at 6. Stay with us.
Precise designs, subtle curves, curated upgrades. Thuma.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Beechers. They call it the world's best. I believe it.
Discover the world's best restaurant-quality food in your grocer's freezer. Beechers. Raise your expectations.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes!
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
This is WCJB TV 20's Morning Edition.
This morning, we're tracking Hurricane Milton. Our TV20 meteorologists have declared today a first alert weather day. So turning it to Mike. Mike, what can we expect leading up to Milton's landfall today?
Well, it's definitely going to be a gradual increase in rain, wind as we head through our morning into our afternoon with I think the bigger effects from the storm as far as strongest winds, heaviest rain, and things of that sort. That comes this evening into overnight, into the first part of the day tomorrow, and then conditions get better after that once we head into the afternoon and the system starts moving well away from the Florida East Coast tomorrow afternoon. So today, right now, we have cloudy skies and some patchy light rain out there currently. Those rains increase through the day. All right, there's your view from the satellite and showing that very impressive storm. I've used that word a lot this morning because truly that's what it looks like after going through a little period of weakening about 24 hours ago. Definitely yesterday afternoon, evening wrapping up considerably. Aircraft continue to indicate a very small eye and some very intense winds around the eye, in the eye wall as they refer to it. Still not a huge storm at this point, but the wind field with this will expand as it approaches the state of Florida. And for that reason, that's why we're expecting certainly tropical storm force winds in a good portion of our viewing area as we go later on into tonight as that system eventually makes landfall. Here's the latest stats. You can see right there, max winds at 160, motion northeast at 14. The system actually making its way onto the coastline late tonight, probably just after midnight in the area right around Tampa Bay or perhaps a little farther south. But the forecast is for it to cross the state of Florida in central Florida to our south. It may take about 11, 12 hours to do so and eventually exit south of Cape Canaveral. But we're north of that area and we're still going to be experiencing some heavy weather out of this, just not the intense direct effects that portions of the west central coast are going to see. But that is the news for now. It's been a cloudy night. Had high clouds for most of the night. We've seen some of the lower ones increasing as well. And the radar or the picture from the UF weather stem cam showing some of the raindrops over the last couple of hours. You're starting to see a few showers coming in from the east coast, but a steadier area of rain spreading northward across the region. And that is what we'll see as we go through our day today. Temperatures in the warmer 70s, so no 60s this morning, as the dry air is gone. Good thing to keep you in mind of, if you don't have the app on your phone yet, get the TV20 weather app. You can either scan the QR code or type in WCJB TV20 weather in the App Store to allow you to track the storm and have our weather with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Coming up more in a few.
This TV20 traffic update sponsored by Farah & Farah.
This is a live look of traffic in Gainesville. From what you can see here, this is I-75 at 39th. It looks like those roadways are a bit slick there. I-75, some cars, but nothing compared to the past 2 days. I mean, some of those afternoons, that congestion was pretty remarkable to see. So right now, cars are flowing smoothly there in Gainesville on 39th. It does not look like anyone is on the roadway. Today, you know, as those weather conditions worsen as we get later into the day, make sure you are safe on the roadways. Even if you are out there, we urge encourage you to just stay inside, especially as we get later into our Wednesday. But right now, at least, very clear out there. Moving over to our traffic maps, the only actual incident to report actively right now is in Melrose. A vehicle crashed on County Road 219 in Hall Road. No roadblocks to look out for, and it does not look like any congestion there on the road on our maps here. Buckle up, drive safely. Well, as Hurricane Milton approaches, more and more people are heading north in an effort to escape its path, just like I mentioned, with all of that congestion from the past couple days. Residents of Sarasota, Tampa, and even Orlando are traveling through north central Florida to either set up camp or to find supplies. With the increase of travelers, finding gas in the city of Gainesville has become difficult, and some Gainesville residents are feeling frustrated.
Wow, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. I've been to, at least today, 6 gas stations. I can't get through. Everybody's running out of gas, and people getting off the interstate coming here, and it's absolutely horrible.
If you are unsure where to get gas near you, the Gas Buddy website will indicate the areas where gas is still available. And with all of these people evacuating, some are struggling to find a hotel. Hotels in Alachua County have begun turning away travelers as they have completely run out of space. Some people say they have had to hop from hotel to hotel, and it is nearly impossible to find a place that wasn't completely booked. One man from the Port Charlotte area attempted to walk in and book a room at the Quality Inn, but they said they're all booked.
Maybe not here. I'll try to find a Walmart or somewhere like that and just hang out in the truck. Hopefully there's a downtown area to Gainesville that I can get out and explore a little bit and make it an adventure while I'm here.
Well, that's a good mindset to have there. And Alachua County officials say there are currently no hotel rooms available in the entire county. Some residents plan to keep driving north until they find a place to stay. North Central Florida counties have begun opening shelters for those evacuating from the storm. City of Gainesville leaders are considering a curfew for residents, which will be decided this morning at 11 a.m. You can find a full list of shelters throughout our region on our website, WCJB.com, and we'll keep you updated on the City of Gainesville's decision. Well, Uber is offering free rides to shelters for people evacuating due to the storm. The instructions to access them are there right on your screen. Just download the Uber app, tap account on the bottom right, and then tap wallet. Add the promo code Milton Relief, just like you see there on your screen. FDOT officials have set up temporary locations for drivers with electric vehicles to charge up for free. 4 are open across our area in Alachua, Lake City, and Reddick. All of these details you can find on our website, again, WCJB.com. FEMA officials are expanding storm damage coverage to more north central Florida counties impacted by Hurricane Helene. So this is before even Milton hits. Homeowners and renters in Alachua, Bradford, Putnam, and Union counties who sustained damage from Helene are now eligible for FEMA disaster assistance. For details on how you can apply, visit our website. Well, school districts in north central Florida are closing for Hurricane Milton. Marion and Dixie County school officials announced they'll be closed for the rest of the week. Dixie County officials say they're closing due to the increase of traffic as people return from evacuating. And you can find all of those closures as well on our website. Well, stay with us. We'll be back after this quick break with more Milton coverage.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Customers look to State Farm for protection. And now, with up to 3% cash back, you can make every day more rewarding with the Premier Cash Rewards card from U.S. Bank.
We need a small business loan fast.
I got this.
Loan Falcon!
There's a better way to get a fast small business loan. Go to OnDeck.com, and if approved, get your funds as soon as the same day. Your loan is on deck.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
we will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want. Called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef!
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
My doctor's office with a filing system from the 80s has my social.
Think of all the places that can expose your info. LifeLock monitors millions of data points for identity theft. If there's a problem, we fix it. Sign up during open enrollment.
Customers look to State Farm for protection. And now, with up to 3% cash back, you can make every day more rewarding with the Premier Cash Rewards Card from U.S. Bank.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.
State of Florida leaders plan to ask the federal government for more help this time to clean up after Milton passes. Governor DeSantis says that this request will focus on bringing in people from out of state to help clean up debris. TV20's Capitol Bureau reporter Cuddy Butler tells us the details on this request for help.
My job is to use all the levers available to me as governor to be able to help prepare and respond to this storm.
One of those levers is getting support from the federal government. Monday, President Joe Biden approved Florida's pre-disaster declaration.
Everything that we've asked for, the administration has approved. There's not anything that we've asked for that they haven't.
The president's declaration unlocks money and manpower to help with search and rescue. The Department of Homeland Security says it's important to have those partnerships in place now.
Having those teams pre-positioned will be helpful when we move directly into the response.
Florida Division of Emergency Management Director Kevin Guthrie says he's going to ask FEMA for help with debris cleanup too.
We see what we can do in just a mere 48 hours with thousands of resources. So the thought process here is to ask FEMA for a waiver.
That waiver would allow the state to offer more money to private contractors to bring them across the country to get debris picked up faster.
We can encourage and incentivize these haulers to come from across the country to help us get that debris picked up.
Just like restoring power, Governor DeSantis wants debris picked up as fast as possible.
Things tend to take months and months to be able to do. And, maybe this is just something that will take some time no matter what you do, but I think it could be done quicker.
And Governor DeSantis says after speaking with the president that he expects the request will be approved. Mike, turning, all eyes on Wednesday and Thursday. Today's a first alert weather day that you guys have declared. So, we've seen some traffic cameras already this morning. It looks like some of the roadways are a bit slick starting out.
A bit slick, and as, winds begin to pick up later on today. Now, granted, we're not going to have the winds as strong here as what they're going to see in the area in and around Tampa Bay and Central Florida.
Thinking of everyone over there.
Absolutely,
for sure.
That's right. But still, when you get rain and we see an increase in our winds later on today, that's going to make driving even more hazardous. So you have to use extreme caution. I think you could still, to a certain extent, you get out and around and do some.
I was going to ask, when do you think people should really hunker down today?
Yeah, you can get some last-minute things done. Maybe run to the grocery store or a gas station, what have you, this morning, and then you get later in the afternoon, winds pick up. Then it's it gets a bit more sketchy. But I think particularly tonight into the first part of the day tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's,
once the sun goes down, everyone should be
I think
be
that's
in.
probably a good idea because after that, the wind's getting up there and conditions on the roadways getting very unfavorable. All right, let's put it that way. First alert to weather and what are the main effects? We'll talk about this and we're going to be having hourly updates through the day today, and maybe at some point, depending on conditions here, have more continuous and longer coverage. But we'll show you this graphic again. But what are the main impacts we're looking for? What is the time frame? Well, we're right now overcast, a bit breezy out there, not bad for most of our viewing area. Some light rain. There have been a few showers, heavier showers coming in from the East Coast. So this morning, not so much, but as we get second half of the day today, increasing wind, more constant rain. The winds will be fairly breezy in the afternoon early, and then becoming windier towards tonight, and then carrying into the overnight and for the morning hours of tomorrow, because by tomorrow morning, probably looking at the storm exiting the East Coast near Cape Canaveral or thereabouts. So it's still close enough that we're probably going to see tropical storm force wind gusts in our area even tomorrow morning. And then after that is when conditions improve. May take a while for the clouds and rain to end, but then after that, Friday looks good. Coastal impacts, while the storm surge may be 10 to 15 feet in or around Tampa Bay, lower values farther north. We're in much better shape in that regard in our part of the state on our coastline than was the case with Helene. Wind and rain, of course, at the coastline. Same will be true over the interior north central Florida. But as we look at the storm making its way across the central part of the state, based on the projection we're looking at right now, most of our area would be looking at tropical storm force wind gusts. That'd be 39 to 73. That's the range there. If any place were to have hurricane force wind gusts, that would be 74 plus. That would be much more likely in our southern counties south of Alachua, heading towards, say, Marion and Levy and Citrus County. So that's basically how it stacks up as we go through our day today. So our first alert, weather tropical update. Here is that storm, which definitely wrapped up, became much more tighter and impressive looking yesterday evening and overnight last night. The latest report I saw from the Hurricane Hunter aircraft put the central pressure around 909 millibars, which is that in itself is pretty impressive. And the actual eye itself is about, I believe, 8 miles in diameter. And it looks like it's maybe contracted a little bit. Our one thing that could be a positive after that system went through an eye wall replacement cycle, weakened somewhat, then it became better organized, became stronger, became a Cat 5 again. What would be ideal, it would be if we were to undergo another one of those cycles, and that could help to weaken the storm somewhat as it gets farther north. But that would be speculation on my part, and that would be my hope. But right now, the eye is about as small as it's going to get. And here's the radar, and we're looking at the radars from Tampa and Key West. And as a crow flies right now, the eye, which the Key West radar is picking up on, is a little over 200 miles due west of Key West. And that yellow-orange area, that's where the strongest winds, the eye wall, is. And that's where we're seeing 160-mile-per-hour winds. And then, of course, probably dead calm conditions in the eye. But you see out in advance of it, pretty large area of light to moderate rain with some heavier showers, even some thunderstorms in this area here as well. Some of those just offshore Fort Myers and Naples, some of those actually rotating into Levy and sections of Charlotte County, or Lee County, I should say, and Charlotte County, and Collier as well. And what we'll notice is as we go through the day today, some of these rain bands that rotate up into south central Florida could produce rotating cells, or could have rotating cells that produce a quick tornado. So that's why there's a risk for tornadoes in the southern and central part of the state as we head through our day today. Max winds at 160, as we mentioned, northeast motion at 14, so it's moving a little bit faster now. And there's the central pressure. That's saying 907 millibars. I'll check the latest recon report to see if that's changed much, but eventually the forecast brings it onshore, the west central Florida coastline. Too early to tell. Is it going to go right over Bradenton or Sarasota or perhaps Clearwater Beach or St. Petersburg? But it's close enough that folks in this area hunkering down and need to do that overnight tonight. The track brings it close to the coastline just after midnight tonight, and then as it moves inland, gets away from its energy source, weakens, still hurricane force winds in sections of central Florida, and then eventually exits the coast as a Category 1 right around Cape Canaveral, perhaps points south, and then exits out there east into the afternoon. So that's why tomorrow afternoon we look for improving conditions, but the bulk of the heavier weather for the peninsula, that would include to a lesser degree us here in our part of the state, is going to be tonight into the morning hours of tomorrow. After that, definitely much better. Storm surge, again, 10 to 15 feet. around Tampa. That would not be a good scenario. That is the worst case scenario if the center were to come on shore near or perhaps just north of the entrance to Tampa Bay. But it's going to be fairly high along that southwest Florida coastline. Lower numbers farther north and light surge, if you will, up towards Appalachia Bay. Flood watch is in effect. Why? Because we expect heavy rain, certainly in the southern half of our viewing area. Farther north, lesser rainfall totals, and that would mean less flooding. Potential for some tornadoes in that area. Orlando to Tampa and points south to Lake Okeechobee. That's going to be in the favorable area as the storm approaches from the southwest. So that area right there I would expect to see at least some tornadoes later on today. Here's our local radar. Showers pushing inland from the Atlantic, but that larger shield of rain spreading northward now from central Florida and the Gulf into our southern counties, and that's what we'll experience as we go through much of our day today. No dry air in place like we had yesterday when we had that clear start to the day. Temperatures in the 60s, none of that. We're in the low to mid 70s first thing this morning. This particular model shows the system approaching from the southwest and eventually moving on shore the southwest coast in or around Tampa Bay again late tonight. Cloudy and breezy for us this morning with a few showers, and we start to pick up a little bit of that light, steady rain. Showers and an isolated storm possible this afternoon, and then wind and rain increase this evening and overnight. After a high in the 70s, cooling down to a low in the around 70 overnight tonight. Today and tomorrow, our first alert weather days. Tomorrow morning, not that great, but tomorrow afternoon, better, and a whole lot better Friday through the weekend into next week.
Wow, yes, looks like a beautiful weekend, you know, as people...
If we could just get there, if we could skip the next 24 hours, that would be ideal.
Exactly, but you know, that's always a silver lining in recovery efforts to have the sun shining down on everyone.
That's right.
Well, after the break, we'll tell you how our neighbors are preparing for the arrival of Hurricane Milton in the Tampa Bay area.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Well, North Central Florida residents are busy preparing for Milton, but our neighbors in the Tampa Bay area say they aren't taking any chances. Businesses and homeowners are boarding up their windows ahead of the hurricane. Reporter Rick Adams shows us how people are making sure they still have a place to go home to.
The cutting and the drilling could be heard up and down Main Street in Sarasota on Tuesday. businesses boarding up and doing what they can to protect their livelihood.
We are boarding up the windows, putting some foam around it, and then bringing everything off the floor on the inside.
Kevin Enderle is one of the owners of Classico. His restaurant in St. Pete did go underwater from the storm surge. He's not taking any chances with his Sarasota restaurant in Hurricane Milton.
If you're going to turn it around and get it back open, it's real important because once you take on water inside, it's a long process getting it back open. So instead of being down 2-3 months, I can get back open on Friday.
Many downtown businesses boarded up or in the process of doing what they can to keep their businesses safe, including using lots of sandbags. One worker spending hours covering the Fat Donkey ice cream shop.
You just got to be prepared at any cost. You can't take no chances. You want to be safe.
Hurricane Milton is a huge concern for residents and business owners. Enderle is keeping his fingers crossed with the storm.
We're hoping with the sandbags, the plastic we put in, the plywood, and then sealing all around the edges that we can keep the water out.
Wow, well, seeing those measures definitely showed the intensity of it. And, you know, as we heard, that business owner was affected by Helene. So that's kind of a topic with this hurricane, with how close they have been in just recovery efforts.
Yeah, I know. So you have Debbie around August 4th, 5th, and then you had Helene last month, and then you've got this one. So that's unprecedented. I mean, as far as I can recall, 3 storms. Moving onshore, the west coast of Florida, granted 2 of them, the earlier 2, were up in our neck of the woods, and this one farther south, but still, in one hurricane season, within that short period of time, certainly.
It's been active, for sure.
Very active. No more. We don't want any more after this, and we don't want this one, as far as that goes. All right, there's your view from the satellite, and the eye, which was very well defined for the last several hours, becoming less so right now, and we're going to keep a close eye on that to see if that's a sign of maybe a little change in the structure. That would be good if it's a change in a downward path as far as intensity. We'll keep an eye on that. But there's your center, still a Cat 5, max winds at 160 as of last check, and the motion northeast of 14. The essentials have not really changed a whole lot. Landfall point being around the west central coast of Florida, in or around the Tampa Bay area, near or just after midnight tonight, and then crossing the state and weakening in the process and exiting right around Cape Canaveral or point south tomorrow, basically 12 hours after that. So north of it, where we are, obviously winds and rain increasing today. We are not going to see the bulk of the heaviest. That'll be in central Florida. But right now, we're noticing a shield of rain spreading up from the south across sections of our southern viewing area. We'll see more of that during the day today. So at some point, the rain becomes steady, maybe light at times, some occasional heavier downpours, but definitely cloudy conditions out there. And the roads will be slick, so just be careful out there. 70s all over the place. Doesn't matter where you are, from north to south, east to west. It's a warmer morning than we had yesterday.
All right, thank you, Mike. We'll have more Milton coverage throughout our morning show, but for now, here's today's Tech Bites.
In today's Tech Bites, X returns to one of its biggest markets. Brazil's Supreme Court lifted a ban on the social media site after the platform paid a $5 million fine. The country banned X last month after it refused to remove several accounts deemed to be spreading misinformation, according to Brazil's government. Next, Samsung is ending updates for its older Galaxy Fold 2 phone. The model is no longer eligible for security or software updates, marking the end of its support cycle. The phone came out in 2020, costing nearly $2,000. Samsung's tablet, the Tab A7, will also no longer get updates. And finally, Fitbit is launching a new AI-powered tool. The feature uses Google's Gemini models to offer personalized health answers like how your activity affects your sleep. The opt-in program is now available to select premium users. You know what? It's almost Halloween, so what do you call a vampire who wears a Fitbit? Counts steps. Those are your Tech Bites.
Progress. Moving in a positive direction. We all want our lives to do that. Why is progress also in our name? We've always believed insurance should do more. That's why we've gifted over 1,000 vehicles to veterans, funded housing programs for families in need, and why we're working to make roads safer.
You're doing good.
And housing more fair. For us, that's real progress.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.
At Magnolia Ridge Rehabilitation Center, we recognize that restoring quality of life is a personal journey, and we are dedicated to meeting the unique needs of each patient. Our team of highly trained staff offers a range of specialized services, including, but not limited to, physical, speech, and occupational therapy. Discover how we can make a difference in your journey to recovery. For more information, please visit our website at magnoliaridgerehab.com. At Magnolia Ridge Rehabilitation Center, we recognize that restoring quality of life is a personal journey, and we are dedicated to meeting the unique needs of each patient. Our team of highly trained staff offers a range of specialized services, including, but not limited to, physical, speech, and occupational therapy. Discover how we can make a difference in your journey to recovery. For more information, please visit our website at magnoliaridgerehab.com.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.
This is WCJB TV 20's Morning Edition.
Today is officially a first alert weather day as we track Milton's landfall. So Mike, what can we expect today's conditions to be like as we head towards it?
Well, definitely conditions go downhill somewhat. Granted, we talked about this earlier. The bulk of the really heaviest effects from the storm will be west central Florida, across the central part of the state, and then eventually over by Cape Canaveral, and the storm exiting offshore. For us, lighter winds overall, but still, it'll be a progression of cloudy skies, but breezy this morning with some patches of light rain coming through. And then we'll see steadier rain, heavier rain, stronger winds as we head particularly into this evening, overnight, into the first part of the day tomorrow. Going to repeat this again. It's a handy thing to have, the TV20 weather app. It was very useful during Helene. If you don't have it on your phone, scan that QR code that you see there. We'll probably show this again towards the end of the newscast, or type in WCJB TV20 weather in your app store. That gets the app on your phone. Not only can you enter the umbrella contest, which we obviously have been talking about, which goes through the end of November, but also you can track the weather, the radar, and the storm itself as we go through time. So that's the TV20 weather app. Handy thing to have. Our weather with you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Doppler radar, now we're looking at the southern half of Florida, and specifically, if you look out there kind of towards the bottom center of your screen, that is the eye of Hurricane Milton, and the center right now about, I'm going to measure this, it's roughly about a little over 200 miles almost straight west of Key West, right about right there. So a little over 200 miles out there to the west of the island chain, making its way on off to the northeast. But you see out in advance of it, a large area of rain spreading across Florida, and some of that creeping into our southern counties. Most of it's light in our viewing area, but some heavier showers offshore. One thing we'll watch for southern Florida today is the possibility of some tornadoes with some of the rain bands that move up into the southern peninsula later this morning and afternoon. 160 mile an hour winds right near the center, motion northeast of 14, so picking up a little bit in its forward speed. What hasn't changed very much is a landfall late tonight, a little bit after midnight tonight, along the west central Florida coastline, well to our south, and then crossing the state, and then eventually exiting near Cape Canaveral, farther north where we are. Obviously, we're still going to have effects as the wind field for this storm is going to expand somewhat as we go through our day today. That's why we're looking for, I'd say, at least tropical storm force wind gusts for most of our viewing area late tonight and for the early part of the day tomorrow. Then once the system moves out in the Atlantic, where, conditions get better tomorrow, a lot more sunshine coming up Friday. Looks decent on the radar now. Patches of light rain primarily here, making their way across the region. Temperatures have been quite balmy. It's in the 70s everywhere, regardless of where you are, thanks to the moisture that's in place across the area. Coming up in a few, we'll talk more about the storm, more details in just a bit.
This TV20 traffic update sponsored by Allen Law.
This is a live look of the I-75 at Archer area. A fair amount of cars out here. If people are continuing to evacuate those areas, now is the time to do so. As we get later in today, those wind speeds and that rain will pick up. But as far as the past few days, that congestion on I-75 northbound has definitely been real. We've been watching it all week. And so right now, there is a fair amount of people out there on the roadways. But good news for this Wednesday morning. As far as any incidents, any roadblocks, detours, anything of that nature from crashes, FHP is reporting clear crash-free roadways. So that is a plus here. Just give yourself some extra time. Just have some extra patience out there on the roadway as people continue to evacuate these areas. And like I said, we've been talking to travelers all week who are evacuating southern parts of Florida. One driver from Orlando, see this right here again shows just that congestion that we've been seeing this week. But like I was saying, one driver from Orlando says her time of arrival kept being pushed back from the amount of traffic.
They have used the side lane, the emergency lane, as a fifth lane. Like, I'm not kidding. Was I not taught? I was like, yo, what is going on? But yeah, there's definitely an extra lane. Well, probably two lanes because they're using both of them, so.
Well, with Hurricane Milton's expected landfall early Thursday morning, more people may be evacuating today, which will only mean more traffic. So again, practice some patience. Well, more counties have issued evacuation orders ahead of Hurricane Milton. Dixie, Gilchrist, and Union counties are under voluntary evacuation orders for residents living in mobile homes, RVs, and low-lying areas. In Levy and Marion County, mandatory evacuation orders are still in effect. In Marion County, a mandatory evacuation order was issued for those living in RVs, mobile homes, and manufactured homes, just like I mentioned. So yesterday, Governor Ron DeSantis held a press conference at the Florida Horse Park in Ocala, which will be one of the state's major staging areas for response to Hurricane Milton. Hundreds of workers, trucks, generators, and other necessities have been set up, and they're ready to be deployed after Milton makes landfall. The staging area already has bucket trucks, generators, forklifts, AC units, water hoses, hundreds of personnel, and fuel trucks, again ahead of Milton's descent.
We have staging areas around different parts of the state, and there are different sites that are doing different things. I mean, for example, you go to like Lake City, you got a lot of the utility linemen there that are staged. We've had a lot of people staged in the Tampa Bay area for utility and other things, but this one right here is really good. I'm not saying Ocala is not going to have any impacts from the storm, but we fully anticipate be able to move people where they need to go very quickly once the storm passes.
Governor DeSantis says 5,000 National Guardsmen are on duty, and that number will soon expand to 8,000. Well, turning to some live coverage, all of our north central Florida counties are under a state of emergency, and as Milton nears, every county is preparing. TV20's Hawa Ezel joins us live from Marion County's Emergency Operations Center. Hawa, what's it looking like out there in just the roadways this morning?
It's looking a bit clear and it's looking rainy. Right now, residents are just preparing as best they can, and that's if they haven't already skipped town. Like you just mentioned, Kristen, mandatory evacuation orders are in place for more than 15 counties, including Marion, especially for those in those mobile homes. Marion County officials have also announced school closures for the rest of the week, leaving students and parents free to prepare. FHP is reporting much clearer traffic, as I mentioned earlier. It was highly congested yesterday. We heard from some people who were dealing with that. They're frantically trying to evacuate inland, and I don't blame them. The shoulder of the roads are still open as that fourth lane that's on I-75, I-4, and Alligator Alley. Like I mentioned, right now, the best thing we can do is just make sure we're stocked up on those essentials and get away from those coastal areas. Please stay safe as it has started raining. Reporting live in Marion County, I'm Hawa Ezel. Back to you, Kristen.
Hawa, we appreciate you being out there this morning. Stay safe, and we'll be checking back later. Well, after the break, we'll have a quick break from Milton coverage and be back with your morning sports report. Stay with us.
What happened to no phones at the table?
Sorry, honey, it's a work thing.
Yep, work over here too. Got a text from Alan saying your business vehicle is now protected with Progressive.
Just like your home and auto. Why'd you text it? I thought that's what we were doing.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
President Trump is leading the fight to empower parents and students.
We will give all parents the right to choose another school for their children if they want, called school choice.
President Trump is right. Kentucky parents deserve a voice in what their children learn and a choice in where they go to school. Give Kentucky students the education they deserve. Vote yes on Amendment 2. Trump supports school choice, so should you.
Jamie, my apartment was robbed last night. If only Progressive had renter's insurance like their home insurance.
That way we could bundle our cars and get the same 24/7 protection.
Totally.
Totally is the best word ever.
Totally.
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 You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes! For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
You know, the Brantford volleyball team had a long run to state. Last year, the Bucks faced two teams, Lafayette and Union County, 6 times. They only lost 1 set. So like this fan, let's hoist the colors and let the flag fly. At Union County at Brantford, round 2. The Bucks faithful on hand for this showdown. And you know what? This kind of felt like a postseason preview. I want you to watch number 11, Addison Folsom. This will set up for Kaylee Johnson. She fires a kill attempt. Folsom and Johnson, they bide their time, leap up for the double block, and chalks up the point. That's some great awareness. Now more from Folsom all over the front court, and she is going to be ready for the return and make it look easy. Brantford Bucks were down 5-4, but the Fighting Tigers have one of the top kill specialists, nearing 200 kills. This is Jalen Simmons. Keeps her feet in bounds and fires a stunning shot across the court. Brantford led 24-18, but Union County rallies to make it 24-22. Brantford just too much to handle again and again. The Bucks win the set, and they won their 19th straight match, 25-22, 25-16, 25-17. Now, away from the swamp, the Gator defense has yet to prove that they can get the job done. Last season, Gators gave up an average of over 200 yards on the ground and 15 touchdowns. Who has the best rushing offense? Tennessee, and this is their biggest test yet. Win or lose, Florida, you got to prove that this defense is better on the road. Against Mississippi State, you still gave up 240 yards, and you got to stop this running game, and you got to win in the trenches. And 2, you got to rattle Nico Iamaliva by collapsing the pocket or making him think twice about running. And the secondary, you got to find something called a turnover. You only have 2 this year, and that's by the linebackers. The strength of this front 7 is with guys like R.J. Milton, who put on weight to transition to outside linebacker.
100%. I think the closest
tempo that we've gotten this year was in practice for Mississippi State, because we knew that they were going to have tempo, but the way that they ran the tempo at practice was unbelievable. So I think that's the closest we get, but Tennessee definitely has the fastest tempo. It's us. All we have is us going into a hostile environment, and to be honest, like, the crowd really isn't anything. Like, it's practice just with a lot more people watching. We're not making it bigger than what it may be. It's just it's a game on the schedule, and we're going to go and we're going to compete and hopefully come out with the win.
Well, to stay on defense, as the men's basketball team has plenty of time to buck the trend. They were one of the best in rebounds and three-point percentage, but the issue started in the paint. Opponents shot over 45% from the field against the Gators, and why teams like Auburn and Colorado were able to handle the Gators in crunch time. Golden and his staff were busy bringing in more speed, height, and a veteran presence in the paint. Newcomers like Sam Alexis take a page from guys like Samuel and Lockton.
The big guys, like I seen what Tyrese Samuel did last year, and I felt like I could do the same thing. Micah did a lot of offensive rebounds. I think he had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds. So just try to do what he did.
Playing aggressively is part of my game. It's who I am. It's how I play. But I think there's limit to everything, and there's the line to everything. So there's some lines you don't cross, and I know my boundary, and I just stay within my boundaries, trying not to pass the lines.
And also, please keep in mind that we are going to have the continuous updates here from Hurricane Milton when it comes to the athletic activities. We did get a couple this morning. That was Trinity Catholic. They have decided to end the athletic activities until next Monday. And then also North Marion and Denellen football, they postponed their game to next Monday, October 14th. There's a couple other games that are coming up. But make sure that you stick to our TV20 Sports page. We'll have you updated throughout the day here on TV20. I'm Jake Rongelt, TV20 Sports.
Well, Mike, as we head into the end of our morning show, active weather is coming. What would you just want people to know?
That today starts out okay.
Yeah.
Overcast, light rain.
Mm-hmm.
You can still get out and do some things. But once you get later in the afternoon, this evening in particular, overnight, first part of the day tomorrow, not a good time to be out and around.
Yeah.
Roads are going to be still, even this morning, the roads are a little slick. We're going to start to see, a bit more of this steadier rain, but very light perhaps, as we go through the morning. So you don't need to be going too fast.
Yeah, I know. I've been definitely saying patience is key. A lot of people's patience was tested the past couple of days. We've seen those lines on I-75 northbound as people are evacuating.
And in town, people getting gas, grocery stores, things of that sort. So patience is good. Don't want to tell people what to do, but that's just it just helps. And the road conditions are not going to be ideal. A dry roadway would be perfect. Okay, we're not going to have that for a good portion of the day today, tonight, tomorrow. But even if the winds are not all that strong, the roads are still going to be slick in spots, off and on pretty much throughout most of the day today. And so it's not ideal conditions for that. Just please use caution if you're heading out today. All right, checking out one thing. We're also, we're not forgetting the folks who live on the rivers, and we're going to talk about this. Now, when I was looking at the data for the Suwannee River, the projection is for minor flooding on the Suwannee. The Santa Fe, a little bit more of an issue, particularly at Three Rivers Estates. You folks who live in that area, you know how things are. And we had this with Debbie. We had some bigger problems with Debbie, but this is the projection for Three Rivers Estates on the Santa Fe River, a slow climb, already minor flooding on the Santa Fe there, and then eventually a slow climb as we head towards the early part of next week, climbing probably about another 2 feet or so. This is based on, now this has been updated a little bit based on the latest projections having the storm moving a little farther south than the track that we were looking at a day or half or two ago. And so we're still going to be close to moderate flooding, it looks, on the Santa Fe at Three Rivers as we head into the early part of next week. And it looks like basically farther north, conditions definitely better. All right, first alert, weather tropical update. Still watching, obviously, Milton, which is definitely a very impressive storm. Now, when we had a little period there yesterday early where it was showing signs of some weakening, yesterday afternoon, we were talked about how this far south conditions were very favorable for this to maintain its intensity, if not re-strengthen a bit. So it's a Cat 5 again. picking up strength, the eye becoming very well defined, some intense winds right around the eye, and the central pressure dropping off down below 910 millibars, which is indicative of a very intense storm. But we're noticing here, I'm going to give you a little closer view here, actually, and take a look at this on the infrared. Basically, we're enhancing the taller clouds. They appear as the various colors of red and pink here, the ones that are higher up in the atmosphere. One thing we're noticing is the eye not as well defined in the last few images. So we'll keep an eye on that to see if that's a sign of a change in the structure of the storm. Perhaps it's about ready to go into an eye wall replacement cycle or something like that. It went through that earlier yesterday, came out of it, healthier storm. We'll see. It would be ideal if we went through some kind of weakening farther north, but still the water here is plenty warm. We'll check that out in a second as well. Radar right now, you can actually see it from the Key West radar, and the good thing here is we have access to all these radars around Florida, so we give you a view of this system. About 200 miles or a little bit more, just slightly north of due west of Key West right now. That's where the eye is currently, and the eye wall, that's where the strongest winds are. But you notice well out in advance of this, there's a pretty good area of rain spreading across the eastern Gulf and parts of the southern peninsula, and that's what spreads northward with the storm, and that's why we'll start to see a bit more of a steady, granted maybe light rain early on this morning with an occasional heavier shower, and then we see more of that as we go through the rest of the day, and just stays damp from pretty much later on this morning through the afternoon, evening, tonight, into tomorrow. Gets better tomorrow afternoon. But embedded in some of these rain bands could be a few rotating cells, and that's why we're looking at a potential for some isolated tornadoes, mainly southern and central Florida is what it looks like right now. Sea surface temperatures in that area in advance of the storm, eastern Gulf, are still plenty warm. It's just as far as this storm goes, as it gets a little farther north in latitude, getting closer to Florida, then we expect the storm to encounter a less than favorable environment, and that's why you see what is now a Category 5, perhaps weakening slightly, but still a significant storm approaching the coastline, perhaps as a borderline Cat 3, Cat 4, early tomorrow morning, just after midnight, actually. Max winds 160 northeast at 14, so it's moving a little bit faster, not as fast as Helene did. Helene, when it made landfall, was moving at about 24 miles an hour. It was up in Georgia in a period of hours, and our weather rapidly improved. Now, this is probably not going to move that fast. It may speed up a bit more, crossing the area. So landfall in or around the Tampa Bay area, maybe just after midnight tonight, and then it's going to take probably about 12 hours to cross the state. And so you're looking at the path across the central part of the state, maybe just south of Orlando. Farther north, winds won't be as strong as they'll experience in that general vicinity. So for us, we're looking at least tropical storm force wind gusts out of this. If anybody had a hurricane force wind, which would be 74 plus, it would have to be, I'd say, in our southern viewing area, unless some track change occurs, which we don't anticipate at this point. Flood watch in effect for a good portion of our area from Jacksonville extending to Levy County. You're not under one farther to the north. That's where the lighter rainfall totals are expected. The area of 1 inch, 1 inch is basically in this blue area right here. So this estimate has changed a little bit. The heavier rains were expected a little farther north, but due to a little adjustment in the track, slightly to the south, that means the heavier stuff is pretty much going to be south of Gainesville. That's when you start getting into the 3 to 5 to maybe 7 inches in the area sections of the Ocala National Forest and higher amounts farther south. We'll continue to watch that. And here is again that projection as far as tornado risk, mainly forward and to the northeast of the storm center path. So I think the tornado risk would be mainly Orlando, Tampa, southward Fort Myers, and Lake Okeechobee through the day and on into tonight. So the impacts for us primarily late today into tomorrow morning. Storm surge is going to be higher in the area around Tampa Bay, 10 to 15 feet. For us, definitely lighter numbers as far as that goes. Wind and rain at the coast and inland, mainly tropical storm force wind gusts, perhaps some hurricane force gusts in our far southern counties. We'll see how that works out as the path develops. Noticing a batch of rain spreading northward up into our area. Most of this is relatively light. A few embedded heavier showers, overcast conditions are what we can expect today, and a more steady rain throughout most of the rest of the day heading into this evening. evening. Temperatures not in the 60s like yesterday, in the 70s. The futurecast, this model shows the system approaching the coastline, and that is going to be what we're expecting as we go later on into tonight. So cloudy, breezy for us this morning with some areas of rain becoming more steady during the day, and then showers and maybe an isolated storm this afternoon. Wind and rain definitely increasing later this evening, overnight, into the first part of the day tomorrow. Here's your extended forecast. First alert weather days today and tomorrow. Tomorrow afternoon gets better, not perfect, and then, well, pretty close to perfect. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Upper 50s to near 60 at night. Upper 70s and low 80s for highs. Bright and sunny.
Looking forward to it. Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Here's your GMA First Look.
In this morning's GMA First Look, for 9 seasons, actress Jenna Fischer charmed fans of The Office.
Dunder Mifflin, this is Pam.
And now, for the first time, she's opening up about her breast cancer journey, posting on Instagram Tuesday, "Last December, I was diagnosed with stage 1 triple-positive breast cancer. After completing surgery, chemotherapy, and radiation, I'm now cancer-free. Thankful for her caregivers, family, and friends, including Office and now podcast co-star Angela Kinsey."
Angela, you seem so happy. I bet you wish you were like this all the time.
Fisher says, "For a long time, she was the only person in my workspace who knew. When I lost my hair, she wore hats to our work meetings, so I wouldn't be the only one." And coming up at 7 a.m., we'll have more of Jenna Fisher's story. With your GMA First Look, I'm Janae Norman, ABC News, New York.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes!
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.
Caring for a loved one can be overwhelming, but finding an affordable Medicare plan doesn't have to be. At healthcareplans.com, compare plans that provide value without sacrificing quality, so your loved ones get the coverage they need at a price that makes sense. Because giving them the best care shouldn't break the bank. Medicare enrollment opens October 15th, so find the right plan at the right price by visiting healthcareplans.com today.
Opioid emergencies can happen anytime, anywhere. He's breathing. Be the difference.
You left late, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage, Chef.
Well done, Chef.
Yes!
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Progress. Moving in a positive direction. We all want our lives to do that. Why is progress also in our name? We've always believed insurance should do more. That's why we've gifted over 1,000 vehicles to veterans, funded housing programs for families in need, and why we're working to make roads safer.
You're doing good.
And housing more fair. For us, that's real progress.
Hey, Flo. Cool leg warmers.
Thanks. They're just for the bus ride to work. They're not part of the official uniform.
No tunes today?
No. My apartment was robbed last night. Took my cable-ready TV, VCR, portable cassette player.
Yep, all the latest tech.
If only Progressive had renter's insurance, like their home insurance.
Then we could bundle our cars and get the same 24/7 protection. I think we just invented that. This is the best day ever.
Well, I still got robbed.
It's still a pretty good day.
Eckrich, no time to cook tailgate.
You left late, parked in Auxiliary Lot Z, and we had to walk a mile to the stadium. What have you prepared for us, Chef?
Eckrich smoked sausage chef.
That's a mean sausage. Yes. Now go long.
Yes, chef.
For smoked sausage you heat up and eat up, just add Eckrich.
Don't leave your endpoints vulnerable to cyber threats. Protect devices both on and off the network with CIS Endpoint Security Services. This service takes an active role in mitigating and remediating malware. CIS Endpoint Security Services doesn't just block malicious activity, it can stop an attack in its tracks. And because it operates at the device level, CIS Endpoint Security Services can track how an individual's actions resulted in the system being compromised so that you can prevent it from happening again.